Very special episode of Performance Anxiety. I'm your host, Mark. Today we tackle a very sensitive subject, the defense of hair metal. No other podcast will touch this volatile topic, but we here at Performance Anxiety, a proud member of Pantheon Podcast Network, are willing to traverse the minefield that is hair metal. We tangle with topics like the best hair metal for the gym, what hair metal band will clear out a wedding, and is there a new batch of hair metal bands on the horizon? But we start the entire show off by teasing out a top 3 list of hair metal bands from our panel of experts. Jason Thompson of Vast Robot Armies, Ryan Smith of Ryan and Pony and Soul Asylum, and Mike Shue of 100 FM The Pike in Worcester, Mass, and Long May You Young podcast on the Pantheon Podcast Network. Follow all of us on social media if you're obviously intelligent enough to find the accounts. And think about supporting us at ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/performance anxiety. There's no gentle way to start this conversation. So let's rip off the Band-Aid in defense of hair metal. I took everybody's drink recommendations to heart and kind of ignored them. So instead of cheap beer, I got the only beer I had left in the house, which is a Dogfish Head Sunday Feels Beer Mosa Sour. And I don't like cheap vodka, but I did manage to smuggle in my pants some Reyka.
Impressive.
Well, my girlfriend is now my wife, and she refuses to smuggle things for me. So
let's walk backwards on that one for a second. Are you smuggling booze into your own house? This is like the role reversal of a teenager. It's brilliant. Like, what's going on there?
I'm smuggling it away from my kids.
Oh, you're stealing your kids' booze.
Yes.
Nice. All right.
Oh.
I got years before I get to do that.
I know. You guys are still little.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuck. Yeah. I got 16 years before I get to do that. 16. 13, probably.
Well, I'm going to drink this a little later. But
cool.
Anyway, so how you guys doing?
Great.
Doing all right.
Yeah, good.
I did my hair specifically episode, so I'm ready to go. I didn't know
Nice.
Video I had all this time on.
All right, so let me do a little bit of introductions here. So Mike is on the same podcast network that my show's on. He's also a DJ in Massachusetts, right?
Cool.
I got that right?
Yeah, 100 FM The Pike in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Cool.
There, I was at the late great WAAF for 20 years and spent my whole life in radio. The only reason I got into radio was because I can get free tickets and free records if I got into radio. So that's pretty much the only reason I got in. And it was true for a while. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, now not so much. But Mike does a great podcast called Long May You Young that goes through Neil Young's entire catalog in chronological order with 2 of his co-hosts, Luke and Russ Condon, and it's hilarious.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I'm starting to regret it now that we've gone through the 80s.
Yeah.
But we're starting to get back into some really good Neil. So hopefully we'll keep it going for the next 30 albums or so.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been pretty prolific lately. I'm recording already, so we'll just get right into it. With hair metal, you got some weird stuff going on. It's a completely contradictory genre. You know, you've got guys trying to get laid while they're poofing up their hair and wearing makeup. You know, you've got albums full of songs telling women to shake for them and jump in bed, and then they have the song where they're heartbroken that she left them. Yeah. I mean,
what a shock!
It's completely contradictory, sometimes hypocritical.
Well, they're heartbroken because they don't have a place to crash anymore. And now
yeah.
Gotta find someone to pay their bills.
They didn't realize how much they actually owed the label for that 3-album deal either.
Also, I forgot to introduce everybody else. So this is Jason Thompson. He's in Vast Robot Armies. And Hello. Ryan Smith is in Ryan and Pony and Soul Asylum.
Cool.
So the point I was trying to make with jumping in like that was, all right, so you mentioned David Lee Roth. Van Halen can you consider Van Halen hair metal? They looked it, but their songs and some of their lyrics, a lot of their lyrics kind of fall into that genre, but it doesn't sound like hair metal to me.
Okay, so I just read Ted Templeman's book, which I highly recommend people read it, because if you want to know a ton about the Doobie Brothers and early Van Halen, it's a great little read. But it's a great point, because if you think about what happened in the 80s, a lot of bands from the 70s kind of just curtailed their whole thing towards the 80s. Look at what happened to Kiss. Kiss were a 70s band, big theatrical band. But then all of a sudden they're like, okay, Ace Frehley's out. We got to get Vinnie Vincent, who shreds. We got to get Mark St. John, who shreds. We got to get Bruce Kulick, who'll just do whatever the fuck we tell him to do, kind of thing. And it's they had this, but they're all 43 at the point when the 80s hit, right? So it's just they're all kind of trying to capture what was happening with Crew and Quiet Riot and Cinderella and Warrant and all that thing, right? And Ozzy with his treadmill of guitars coming through. But they really weren't a hard rock heavy metal band. And Halen's the same sort of thing. And then further to Halen, why I was mentioning the Ted Templeman book is he really kind of gets into how Roth would write lyrics. And it made me kind of reinvestigate his lyrics, and from a metaphorical, it's not brilliant stuff, but considering the context of what else is around it in that era, it's actually, it's kind of poetic in certain parts. There's moronic stuff, but at the same time, within that same song, there's some nice little metaphors going on, or at least nice play on words, I would say.
Well, David Lee Roth just speaks in metaphors. Have you ever heard an interview with him?
Oh yeah,
he's a walking metaphor.
Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, I kind of just ran wild there.
No, that's cool. But okay, so I was also thinking bands like Def Leppard. Their first 3 albums are not hair metal, but as soon as you get into Hysteria era and beyond, Adrenalize is a total piece of shit. I absolutely hate that album. But yeah. Hysteria on, they really soften up, and that's Whitesnake, hard rock, and then all of a sudden they got castrated. Is This Love? And what the hell was that other? Here We Go Again. That's just, I don't know. It's just, there's a lack of heaviness to it. I mean, I like a lot of the shredding, a lot of the guitar work and all, but there's a lack of substance maybe to it. I mean, that's what I think of heavy metal, or hair metal, sorry.
Don't forget that White Still of the Night on it, which kicked ass.
Yeah, that was a great track. And that brings me to my first band that I picked for hair metal bands that actually wrote decent songs. Blue Murder. The guitarist for Whitesnake got fired right after that album, formed this band, and it's a band of vets. I mean, it's John Sykes on guitar and vocals, who played with Thin Lizzy, played with Tigers of Pantang, Whitesnake, and then Blue Murder. Tony Franklin played with Roy Harper and Jimmy Page, and Carmen Appice played with Vanilla Fudge. That's a kick-ass group. They've got a lot of the guitar acrobatics, but he played a Les Paul. But the songs are a lot chunkier and a lot heavier, and that's why I kind of like them as they looked like hair metal. They wore the fucking pirate shirts and had the spandex on, and if you look at their promo shots from that era, they look like a Seinfeld episode. It's horrible.
Oh yeah, it's puffy sleeves.
Yeah,
they had so many puffy sleeves.
Oh, and hair out to here. They look atrocious, but the music's really good.
Yeah.
So
Carmine Appice has he's got to be in the running for one of the uglier men in rock for sure.
Yeah, he could have been in Kiss.
But it's funny, I was listening to them today, and the first song off their debut or only record that I know of, holy shit, there's a drum fill intro that just launches the first song.
Yep.
Dude's got game. Like, that's a good fill.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a good, smart part. Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people overlook because of the image in Hair.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys were pretty sick musicians, like, Blue Murder, and then, like, my hometown guys, Extreme.
I'm so excited you brought up Extreme.
And but it was like what they chose to play, the music, like Mr. Big, that Billy Sheen is like, Paul Gilbert's amazing, but it's kind of, they were kind of looking to pay some bills, I think, or just to attach their wagon to it, kind of like you were saying, like Kiss, or Heart. Like Heart is an example. There's a band that did some really amazing the 80s world. They were Nickelback of the 80s.
Okay, I have to interject here.
Yeah.
Hart wrote nothing in the 80s. Like, it's a well-known fact that, like, the label came in and was just, and I didn't know this, actually. I read something recently or a year ago, and it's like, apparently they wrote none of those hits. Like,
Really?
yeah, you listen to them, they're like, yeah, they just kind of gave us songs and said, play this. And they're like great fucking songs, right?
Wow.
Like, and it's like they went through a dead zone. Like, after their heyday, right into the late 70s, they started kind of petering off with ideas. So the label was like, let's get some ghostwriters in, let's get some professional writers in. And all of a sudden you get What About Love, you get Alone, you get all that stuff. I think These Dreams, like, I think Nancy actually was involved in that, but I was stunned to find out how little they wrote, like the Bad Animals album, and the one before that. Loved Heart. I think fucking great. Like, I dug the 80s shit for sure. It was great.
Well, I don't pull the band to bring in writers.
Oh no. Yeah.
Like Desmond Child, who wrote songs for everybody, basically. Wrote hits for everybody. And so I don't think that's such a bad thing. But if you want to talk about there's the band, much like Alice Cooper, right? Alice Cooper, very fucking dude. And then, like, in the 80s, he became this, kind of like scary hair metal guy for a little while, with Boy, Frankenstein and that kind of stuff. He embraced that too. I think that if I can just say, I don't think we should be concentrating on lyric songwriting, because that's not why I listen to hair metal. I'm not looking for, when I'm listening to LA Guns, like I got my brain up for a while. It's like you have that beer, right, Mark? That really, really interesting, complex beer from Dogfish Head. Okay. And I love beer too. And I like to have a really interesting beer, but sometimes I just want to drink a fucking High Life.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Brain off for a while and turn it up really fucking loud. And because I'm not looking to, LA Guns or answers to the world's problems, or I'm not.
Wait, what?
Whoa.
Because I want to have a good time. I want to get loud. I want to be stupid. If anything, hair metal assists you in making bad decisions, and that's it was about getting that fucking attitude and just being like, okay. I think I can have another round because, he said, have another round. I'm going to do it. Yeah. And then, I drive my car into a telephone pole. Right? But it's just, I don't know. I never looked to hair metal. Like, I look for hooks, melodies and stuff like that. But I never looked to them to, like, eat meaning or anything. It's all about chicks and partying and getting wasted, sex and chicks and partying and getting wasted.
But then they decided to go all sensitive and acoustic with Tesla and going unplugged and Extreme, More Than Words.
You had to get the chicks. You had to get the chicks with the ballads. They wanted to hear that stuff. It's like, when Bret Michaels is like, I need something to believe in. Well, turn Poison. You need to believe in. Want to branch off and write other stuff and everything like that.
I'm going to jump in here for a second. I totally agree with everything you're saying. I will actually, to piggyback when you referenced Extreme, because they're on my short list. The one thing I actually noticed, because I agree with you, that's the same reasons that I listen to all this stuff for. Like, you want something that's going to drive, it's going to make you do this. You want something that invariably is going to be some sort of major scale kind of like push sort of thing, but what I noticed when I was listening today is like it's one of the last little eras where there's like actually, and they're not complex, but there's an attention to harmonies within their choruses, like 2 to 3 part harmonies that, you know, whether you like them or not, it's like, okay, but you don't hear it as much as we got into like stuff that I would listen to when I got older and got into like, you know, space rock or whatever was happening in the 90s kind of thing. It's fantastic stuff happening, but it didn't have the layered choruses. And that kind of was like, you know, that's kind of cool hearing that, where it's like 3 different dudes like stacking vocals, you know, it didn't matter what they said. It's like, that's pretty creative what they did. Like in certain cases, and extreme to your point, like a song like Rust in Peace, like that fucking song is really well put together. Like they did some really smart shit. Like not only could they play, but they actually tried to put stuff together. And to your point, Mark, where you were talking about ballads, yeah, like they did ballads, but they also did like New York kind of like broken down piano ballads and stuff like that, like on that Porno Graffiti album. Like,
Yeah.
they were like a smart, had like hair metal band, and they for sure were a hair metal band. But,
And the uniqueness is one reason why I picked Blue Murder, because you have Tony Franklin on like a fretless bass throughout the whole thing. You know, how many metal albums have fretless bass all over them? But you had this typical songwriting tropes, you know, bad boys, chauvinism, sex, Egyptians. Then they had their couple ballads, but that fretless bass is throughout the whole album, and it just give him a really unique sound and chunky guitarist. Ryan, you've been really quiet. What are you thinking here?
I agree about extreme. I mean, I didn't grow up 100% listening to hair metal. I didn't have like a massive hair metal phase, but Extreme is one of those bands I thought, like Three Sides Every Story, that album was really strong. I thought it had a lot of depth in it. It was great. However, the first band I suggested in my list was King's X, because I thought that they came out at a time where they were considered hair metal. But the interesting thing is you look back in time, King's X is more now looked at in relation to the bands that they influenced later. Like King's X has more to do with Alice in Chains or
James.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so when they came out, their peers were all these other metal bands at the time. But what they did was so original, unique, creative, smart. You know, I mean, yeah. And you were talking about smart, like harmonies. Yeah, those guys had their harmonic changes, chord changes, Ty Tabor's guitar riffs were really.
Goes to Nebraska is an amazing record.
Oh yeah,
I love that record. Like, now I'm gonna go back and listen to it after we talk. Fucking so good.
Yeah. And I mean, Doug Pinnick's bass tone and his voice, I mean, there's nobody that you can mistake in that era for his voice.
Oh, that's true. And
then those guys having the Beatlesy harmonies going on. They even had little bits of punk mixed into their music. I mean, on some of the tracks, especially some of the later ones. But yeah, I just thought that band was insanely good. And they're one of those cult bands that is going to transcend every genre.
But is that, like, I never considered King's X to be hair metal, you know?
Well, if you look, my argument for that is that, I know what you're saying, but my argument is look at photos of them in 1987, 88, 89. They're hair metal. I mean, the image, the band, and the way that they were marketed was that. But, because that's what was going on at the time. There's no other way. If they came out 6 years later, they would have been marketed as alternative music, but that didn't even really exist in that realm yet. So, you know, so I know what you're saying. Totally. Like that's kind of the point that I'm saying now. I mean, maybe you didn't see them that at the time either, but I think in 87 and 88 and even 89, they were looked at in that world, you know? And then as time goes on, you think about them in association with other acts, other genres, and other styles.
That's a really good point, because a lot of it was about the marketing. the look, and that's where I think a lot of the hair metal gets its detractors is because of the look, image over substance. That's what I wanted to get you guys together for, is to find out the bands with substance. So King's X, I'm totally on board with. Jerry Gaskill, former podcast guest.
I heard that one. That's the first one I checked out when I checked out your podcast.
You want to know something weird? Every 3 months, 4 months, I'll get he'll butt dial me. I'll be sitting on my phone and it'll be like Jerry Gaskill. I'm like, what the fuck? Hello? And he never answers. He doesn't talk to me anymore. But Jerry Gaskill does butt dial me. So.
That's funny.
So, all right. So we've got Blue Murder. We've got King's X. Mike, who are you thinking of for your first official pick here?
Well, I've been a huge fan of. There's a certain type of hair metal that I really enjoy, and that's the really easy shit, like the New York Dolls kind of Kiss. Those were the blueprint bands, but
okay.
I've always loved Faster Pussycat. I've always my first album.
Some number written on the wall. Said for a good time call. 9281768. Hey, baby, I can't wait. Got to know my house, I'm back through the wall. Pick up the phone and I start to think. I get excited when it starts to ring. I want to look like what we say. If it's good, I call it every day.
Not one redeeming quality about any of those guys. Like how you perceive them listening to that first album, they were just bad news. And to me, that's hair metal. It's the attitude and it's like the swing that you put into the music. Mm-hmm. And they were able to do that. And they had Tammy Thomas, had this really distinctive. He moved and looked like Steven Tyler on stage, but his voice was real punk rock. It was real 70s New York style, just really rough and snarling. And, they definitely all they did was sing about, getting wasted and getting chicks. And he owned the Cat House in LA with Ricky Rackman. That's what hair metal is to me. Like, they may have dressed up King's X to market them, but you listen to a King's X album and that's the furthest thing I can think of is band that's got 6 girls in the van, vegetable oil, listen to King's X music, but something like Faster Pussycat, and then they're a band also that as the albums came out, they I think producers kind of smoothed out their edges, unfortunately. But that first Faster Pussycat album is a real good please.
Is there one before Wake Me When It's Over? Or is Wake Me When It's Over the first one? Is that the second one? The Faster Pussycat?
The second one. The first one
First one had Bathroom Wall on it and all that, right? Yeah. Yeah. I think both their first 2 records are really strong. I totally agree. I still listen to Faster Pussycat. Even though it was a big hit, Poison Ivy's a great fucking song. Off the second. Yeah, it's got a great bounce. Little Dove, that was a cool tune. All that shit.
You really did dive into this, man, didn't you?
Oh, I know this stuff, man. I'm a ringer when it comes down to this stuff.
I knew I'd choose the right guys.
Yeah.
All right, so
I picked Faster Pussycat as my one of my top 3. Also, it's funny to say that. That's and it was also because of that.
It's a great pick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it is so classic glam. I mean, they embody that sound and that vibe from New York. I mean, I know they're LA, but they sound like New York. It's like New York Dolls. It's so Johnny Thunders. It's great. There's a punk edge to it. It's really dumb and awesome and dumb in the best way. It's good. It's the right kind of dumb. It's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Jason, what's your first official pick? All right.
So I'm going to go to the West Coast. Not one of the grandfathers, but I would say one of the great uncles, but I have to lean on one of the pillars, and I'm going to go with Rat, because as far as I'm concerned, like their first 4 records are made of cocaine, basically. Like that, that band, man. Like I was watching the behind the music stuff too, going, "Oh, you people suck." Like I went to the place of imagining it would be like being in that band, going, "Oh, fuck, you would just suck being in a band with." But I listened to their records, and not only could they play, and like, you know, say what you will about Stephen Pearcy's voice, it had a thing, and Beau Hill really crafted it into a thing that was passable. Because if you hear him live, it's like, oh, okay, so there's where the editing, and there's where the compression, and there's where the EQ's gone all of a sudden, kind of thing. But, you know, he crafted it on a record, so it sounded good in its own way. But DeMartini and Crosby, like, those two could play with each other, and the rhythm section was really solid, and they wrote good songs. Like, they wrote trash as far as lyrical content goes, like, you know, but you listen to some of the stuff, like I was throwing you stuff going, listen to this riff, like, you know, even off their third record that not too many people liked anymore, but Dance, 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 like that whole opening riff with the crescendo and the delay effect rolling over top of it, it's like, fuck, I'd like to write that riff, you know, in today's day and age, but make it kind of like not so that kind of thing. Like, it's like, listen to it going, it inspires me to want to rip certain things of them off, you know, like that's I guess that's the best compliment I can make as far as being a musician goes. I want to rip that off and hope no one knows I ripped it off.
Well, it's Rat, so you got a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, I know.
All right, Ryan, we got Faster Pussycat as your second, unless you want to go to an alternate.
I'm going to go to an alternate because we already know. So, all right. I'm going to argue that this is hair metal, even though you could also say maybe these guys are not. But I'm going to go with Living Colour. Because Living Colour,
I want to go party with Ryan. Like he's hitting all the things I like.
Where I'm coming at from this is I'm trying to find the best bands of the era and that could be potentially marketed into that genre. And I think Living Colour, Vernon Reid's guitar playing alone to me is the reason right there. And then their hybrid of, it's metal, it's a little punk, a little funk, some soul.
They've got the ballads.
What's that?
They've got the ballads. They didn't write a whole lot of songs about banging chicks, but
no. But I didn't know that was. I don't know. I wasn't thinking that was a qualification for hair metal. You know,
I should have made a list.
It was definitely in the era because that record came out when Warrant's record came out.
Yeah,
because I remember they were simultaneously spinning those things.
Yeah, exactly. Warrant and Skid Row, Living Colour. I mean, that was all right there.
It's true.
And so, good point. Living Colour still stands the test of time.
I see you crying in the sunshine. You laughing in the rain. You say you can't tell any difference between the pleasure and the pain. You say you never ever dream at nighttime. You say you only dream in your own way. You say the TV looks like.
And they're still making awesome music.
Living Colour has hair metal. I got to break this out.
So, Mark,
I can't accept color metal band because they're just so much more than that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't even see them as marketed as a hair metal band. They had that whole like Billabong wetsuit kind of thing going on.
Body glove, yeah,
like that. But it was. They were just like King's X. You know, they were just their own separate thing to me.
Yeah.
Nobody else like Vernon Reid, and they're like Will Calhoun is like a monster. And I was fortunate enough to see them a couple of times, and
I did too.
Blown away by how amazing, and it just didn't. That just doesn't register in my brain. I know they came out at the same time,
right?
All that stuff, but it just doesn't. It doesn't like my brain is like exploding on one side. Like,
yeah.
Can you imagine trying to market them? Like, you know, like that's your rep, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, you gotta go market King's X and Living Colour. It's 1986. Go.
Yeah.
It's like, all right. The fuck, Jim? How did I get these two?
What did I do wrong?
Yeah. So it's apparent to me that Ryan's going to be the version of me in the Kelly Scott, Jordan Zadarozny metal drummers interview.
Yes.
So we did this about a year ago, where 4 of us got together, and I listed actually Will Calhoun as like one of my favorite metal drummers, and then each one I did, each of the drummers or musicians that was in it were just like, you can't do that. He's a jazz guy. He came from a jazz background. And then I was like, okay, well, Greg Bissonette, like another jazz guy.
Yeah.
And then I did like the Faith No More drummer, and they're like, nope. So that's you today, Ryan. Although
Yeah.
I'm totally on board with all your picks.
Contrarian.
Right.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. All right, so we got 2 from Ryan. Jason,
Yeah.
we get 2 from you yet, or?
No, we don't have 2 from Matt either.
Okay, so Mike,
Sorry.
who's your second pick?
Well, my one was Rat, and
Oh,
because I just thought they were just an awesome band, and Stephen Pearcy's voice was a big reason why I like that band, because they didn't have that "I'm trying to sound like a girl" sing, like that Vince Neil, Bret Michaels thing. Stephen Pearcy's voice stuck out.
Mark Slaughter.
With always Rat when you heard it. Warren DeMartini is like one of the most overlooked great guitar players and stuff. That was my pick, but my other pick was Wasp, because
Wasp.
they of hair metal, and even though they weren't super girly or sexy, they did do the hair and everything like that. They were just like, people were afraid of them, and that's why I love that. I always thought I used to to make money. I used to DJ weddings and events and stuff like that. Like, the best way to clear a room is play "Fuck Like a Beast" by Wasp. In Texas, I watch this place empty out like in 10 seconds. But they had that attitude, and they had that quality in their music. There was, to me, the hair metal bands I like had a swing in their music. There was not like a funk, more like a swing to it. That Aerosmith kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's why they're another Blueprint band to me. But yeah, I just love Wasp because they were just an undeniable force. You either were like, wow, these guys are great, or you were just like, fuck this sucks. It was
oh yeah,
no middle ground with those guys.
Holy shit, that guy's got a buzzsaw on a codpiece.
Right? That's crazy. I remember working at a record store here in Massachusetts called Strawberry, and we had that like right. It was like right there at the end of the stack where people could walk by and see it, and always got complaints.
What is this?
Behind the counter. I'm like, yes, sorry about that. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, fucking Blackie Lawless could fuck you in half. It's just that's so to me, Wasp is like one of those bands that just like it disturbs people, and I like that. I like that in a band. It's
a good quality. All right, Jason. All right, so what's your second pick?
All right. Okay, so this is where I put myself out there a little bit.
Oh boy, again?
This is well, that's kind of safe. Like, who doesn't like a Rat song, But this is going to go, okay, so this band, another West Coast band, came out in the mid to later 80s. And I think what I liked about them is they were a legitimate hair metal version of Van Halen. So they weren't Van Halen for all its good parts, but each individual part was like, oh, look, you tried to craft Van Halen. And it was crafted by Van Halen's producers. So it was the Bullet Boys. could all play. I didn't like what they all played all the time. Like Mark Turian or whatever his fucking name is. Like he came to that band as like a gospel singer. Like he could sing incredible things. Like if you heard some of his other stuff, but then he would do all this shrieky stuff, right? And apparently Templeman blew his voice out by the second record. But Mick Sueda, that guy could play guitar, man. And Jimmy Danda, that fucking dude knew how to drum. Like there was some cool parts to those first two records, and it was completely not original at all. But to your point, it's like it just made me groove in the right kind of way. Like there's like 50% of each of those records, is good, and that's like a fairly decent bar. I guess we'll put that.
That's a standard bar.
Yeah.
Hair metal. Okay. I'll accept that bar. And I will see your Bullet Boys, and I will raise you a band that maybe you guys don't know about. I don't know. They only really put out one album in 89, I think. And they've reunited since and put out two albums afterwards. They had local releases. They're an LA-based band, Shark Island.
I know Shark Island.
Shark Island. You may remember them from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure soundtrack or the Point Break soundtrack. They were big in that I guess niche for a little while.
I remember them from like Metal Edge magazine, like that band where it's like, the label's just trying to push them through, and you just keep looking at their ads going, your name fucking sucks. You're not going anywhere.
Well, I liked them because they hit all the tropes, right? There's the songs about getting chicks, and there's songs that they, after they did, she broke his heart. And there's, songs about doing things in the night, and songs about this is my city, and all that garbage. But I like the dude's voice, and the guitar player plays some pretty slick. It sounds totally super compressed guitar, but the singer Richard Black does not sound like one of the castrati hair metal singers that you hear all over the place.
Right.
In a foreign land, a memory takes its stand. Hard to take for a man like me, hard for you to see. You believe what you want to believe. I must go where my soul wants to lead. I'm entranced by the land of romance, and I know they're still waiting. When I feel my love burning deep inside my heart, I hear Paris calling.
He was actually a huge influence to Axl Rose. If you look at Axl Rose's stage presence with the swaying and he got that from Richard Black. Shark Island formed as Sharks in like 79, and they became the house band is it Garazi's? The same place Van Halen became the house band. After Van Halen and who was it? Motley Crue, I think, was another house band.
Was it Gazzarri?
Gazzaris, yeah.
Gazzaris.
The old dude, what was his name? Something, it was not Ben, it was something Gazzari, but he was like, I
think
metal years.
Yeah, wasn't he like 80 when that was all happening too?
Yes, he was.
like, good for you.
Oh, girl.
But they started in 79, and they were the house band there, so Axl got a chance to see him a lot. They didn't really get a much of a break. They put out a couple local release full lengths and all, and never really got a whole lot of traction until they put out like one or two songs on the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure soundtrack, and then a song on the Point Break soundtrack. They got a deal, put out a full length album, which is where I actually I heard them on the Bill and Ted's first, and then I heard the full length, and I was like, these guys are great. I love this band. And then that was it. They were done. As soon as I liked them, there's a kiss of death. So, but, they had, even the videos were total hair metal stuff. The guitarist is playing in some kind of archway. The singer, they've got candles everywhere. Some chick who's drinking wine, but it's spilling all over her body. Everything's total hair metal, but that's where I kind of do the hair metal thing and become hypocritical, because that's why I like this stuff.
Right.
They have a song called "Get Some Strange." I mean, how hair metal can you get?
Well, hair metal's not about being woke.
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah.
It's not about that at all. It's just about keeping the party going. You know, that's why I have a hard time with like Living Color, because they had songs, like
Open Letter to a Landlord.
Bird and stuff.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh my God, it's like so far.
Well, especially in Time's Up, like they move really far past it, like any
Right.
sort of metal trope on that. Yeah, I agree.
But now, the last thing I'll say about one reason I loved Shark Island is because now looking back on it, I'm like 16 when this album came out, and I'm running around my house singing Get Some Strange. My mom and dad are looking at me like, what are you talking about? You don't think you know what that means? And I
Wear a
didn't.
condom.
I didn't. So I was like, anyway. All right. So, the other thing is, the singer Richard Black ended up being in this like hair metal super group of sorts called Contraband.
He was in Contraband.
He was a singer in Contraband. Contraband had Richard Black,
Bobby Blotzer, the chick from Vixen, and
Cher Peterson, Michael
Schenker. Yeah, Schenker.
and Tracy Guns.
Yeah. Yeah, Contraband was a weird like super group.
Yeah, so if you want a hair metal super group, pick up Contraband's album. Self-titled album.
That well. Can I make a suggestion? Sure. Maybe at some point during this, we can actually, I don't know if it makes sense, but as we start talking, it occurred to me that maybe we should have a pick of like, I just don't get it, which is kind of like, I suppose ironic because like in theory, none of us get any of this stuff really, but there's got to be a threshold that's just too far down this rabbit hole.
We can do that. And I was also thinking about doing if you have a ultimate hair metal song, even if it's not one of, especially if it's not from one of the bands that you pick, I've got one in mind, but I'm not going to share it until we're done with our picks.
Yes. Okay.
So everybody is picked twice.
Let's get Ryan's next outlier pick.
All right.
So I have a bunch of like on deck ones, short list. So I'm going to pull a wild card here. I'm going to pick one that is not.
Now you are.
And now I'm going to, this one, I think I'm going to pick one that maybe nobody has heard of. They were a major label band. They had a little blip. They're called Slave Raider. Does anybody have heard of them? Okay.
Dude,
Minneapolis band.
You got me.
Check them out, Minneapolis band. So in the late 80s, they took the Midwest by storm. They were like renting out all ages venues, selling out massive shows.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second.
What's that?
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second because I just looked them up and they have a song, an album called "Take the World by Storm."
Yeah. Yeah.
Irony.
So they were huge in the Midwest and they were known nationally for just like a blink of the eye. They toured definitely with Rat and who else? I'm trying to think here. Other hair metal bands. They're definitely hair metal. There's no question.
Oh, I'm looking at a picture right now. Yeah. Here,
Yeah.
You want to play it? You want to play a second of it?
Sure.
Let's get this record started!
I'll add more in post.
All right.
I love how snares sound in the 80s.
Oh yeah. It's so Minneapolis 80s trying to do metal. It's like, recorded the same place they probably recorded like Husker Du at the same year.
I'm looking at
The replacements came in and had to get it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a picture and somebody in there looks like they're from Scandal. They got like the Road Warrior, like the red paint over her eye, he or she's eyes.
Okay, so that is a guy named. He goes by the name. His nickname.
Right, that's my buddy. Right.
That's my brother.
Goes by the name Chainsaw. And he's
so Mad Max.
I think he's actually missing an eye because he's got an eye patch in real life, and that's his.
That's it. I'm done.
His chainsaw.
Mike wins the
Chainsaw.
Ryan
I'm
wins
sorry,
the internet tonight.
Chainsaw's missing an eye. I wonder how he got the nickname Chainsaw.
If he doesn't, he does now. Like, that's just the story.
Yeah.
Someone go to his wiki page and update it.
Now to top off their involvement in hair metal, Chainsaw started a hugely popular cover tribute band called Hairball, and they sell out huge venues. They're making sick money, and he's not even in the band anymore. He just is like hired out new musicians, and they go through like a show where they go through every era of hair metal with all the musicians become the bands and they act like the people. It's an incredible show.
I want to see that so badly now.
It's going national. I mean, it's gone national. Anyways, they're called Hairball. So that's Chainsaw's.
That's cool.
So yeah.
That sounds like a guy up here I knew that created an event called Classic Albums Live, and it would like actually bring in all these professional players and like do Boston's record, like a night of that, like top of band and just like kill it kind of thing. They'd all have to look like Boston.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So
that's a good look.
It is.
You know, the little mustache.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, why we get a Blue Oyster Cult cover band? Y'all gotta look like Eric Bloom.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh, man, all right. So, Slave Raider. You got me on that one.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's freaking awesome.
That's pretty good.
Jason.
All right.
Pick number 3.
I'm torn. I had Badlands written down with Jakey Lee's first debut record, but I kind of was like, the singer's a dick and just screwed a bunch of people and got them all sick and killed them ultimately. So it's like, I don't feel like giving them any airtime. And then as we were talking, it made me forgot a band, a debut album that I loved from a band. And it was interesting to me because he went off and created it, and he was a big deal before this band. So Lynch Mob. Like George Lynch from like Dokken. Everyone's a big Dokken fan, but I never got into Don Dokken's voice.
Me either. Mr. Scary
Pilson's voice
is amazing.
Jeff Pilson was like a gem as far as a background singer, but once that first Lynch Mob record hit, like it's better than 50%. Like it's like wow,
it's
these
like
are well
62.
written. Like, and he's a shredder, but he gave room to the songs too, which that's a real appreciation factor for me. When you get like shredder guys that actually let the song happen and not just wank all over the song kind of thing, it's like that's impressive.
So you must like GXR then.
Yeah.
You're not a big GXR fan?
No.
Man, that's got everybody. That's got George Lynch, Doug Pinnick, and Ray Luzier.
It's too much. It's too much of that. You can only have 2 guys that are really good. You can't have too much.
Too many virtuosos.
Yeah. That's just my philosophy on that.
All right. Well,
like I'm the weak link of our band, but I write all the music. So it's the beauty of our band.
All right. So Mike, who's your next pick?
My Bax's Rat was already taken and stuff. So Hanoi Rocks. I've always been a huge fan.
Michael Monroe.
Yeah, speaking of someone who influenced, Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses, and,
right.
But Hanoi Rocks again. That's the kind of stuff that I liked and it was really raw, and it seemed really dangerous, and put on such a great show, and they had a real edge to them where people could possibly be frightened of them. They were dressed up, but they weren't exactly. They were, they wore the makeup, they did the hair, but it was like, okay, these are just very fucked up transvestites, and they could. I mean, they rocked so hard. Yeah. Good band, and they had that swing that I love, and they had some good tunes. So that would have been my backup pick.
Okay. Cool. I'm going to go for my last pick with a band that I actually don't consider hair metal, but they got kind of lumped in with hair metal. Because,
I feel like I've heard this before, this intro.
Yes. Because of the lead singer's long, flowing, some may say luscious hair.
Shaka Messiah?
No. So I'm doing a Ryan, and I'm going with something a little off center here. Warrior Soul.
Whoa.
Warrior Soul, and they got lumped in because of their look, but they wrote some kick-ass tunes. I mean, their first album was pretty good, but their second album, Drugs God and the New Republic, and everything beyond that up until Space Age Playboys. Space Age Playboys was a little weak for me, but everything from those two albums, Salutations from the Ghetto Nation, that was an incredible album. Chill Pill. They actually screwed up their album Chill Pill on purpose because they hated David Geffen so much. Such a Neil Young move.
Yes, it's like the old
yeah. But
you want a rock and roll album? Here's a fucking rockabilly album.
Exactly. And that's what they did. They said they recorded like 2 albums worth of music. They took the songs that they hated the most and they sent that to the record label and said, "Here's your album." I actually love that album because it's their most like psychedelic sounding. They had a lot of punk influences. I mean, Corey Clark was from Detroit. I think Pete McClanahan was from Detroit also. Their first drummer, Mark Evans, was murdered and dismembered and thrown in a dumpster and set on fire. But
what did he do?
I don't know.
What do you got to do to have that 4 things happen to you at that point? Like, how mad you got to be? Like, that's a lot of work.
That is.
You're carrying
that takes
around
time
with you and some sort of cutting device, and you're like, not to make light of it, but I'm going to make light of it. Like,
then you got a job. Then you got to actually put him in the dumpster and then go in and set him on fire.
Yeah, man, you got to get clothes. You're going to get fucked up from that for sure, man. You're going to smell like smoke and shit and like gasoline. It's going to be bad.
You're going to smell like the worst barbecue ever.
Like, you got to be mad at that dude to do that.
All right, Mike, you look like you had a question about Warrior Soul. Like, why did I pick that or something?
Yeah, that's like a band like King's X and Living Colour, where it's just that never occurred. Like, again, they had a look, but it never occurred to me that like, oh, this is hair metal.
Yeah.
And if the guy just cut his hair, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right. Like, he did, but he did it too late. He did it like the Warrior Soul's last album, and then they got dropped.
Right. The curse of Mark Shea. Yeah. I like them. You're dropped.
Yeah.
They're just kind of their own little universe. I never thought of them as someone, as a band that was like.
And they kind of came in between, in that little tiny area when hair metal was dying and before grunge really exploded. And they got caught between. Plus, their lyrics were really politically charged in an era just before that became cool.
Yeah.
Rage hadn't really done much of anything. I don't even know if they were a band at that point. They may have still been Electric Sheep, but it wasn't something that you did and expected to stay on a label. So at least not as overtly as Warrior Soul did.
You realize if you meta tag this podcast when you're done right, they're going to get blips on their radar that they probably haven't seen in like 20 years.
Oh my, no kidding. I actually
Soul came up as a hashtag. Shark Island.
Yeah. That's just going to go to some kind of Nat Geo TV show or something.
Yeah.
Some kind of
That's
special.
a cool pick. I think that's a really
Shark.
cool pick. I agree that it's not metal, but I think it's a cool pick.
Awesome. All right. So did we get everybody's 3 picks?
I believe so,
I think
yeah.
we did. All right. So with all that being said, there's some newer bands that are kind of taking the hair metal torch. I mean, you've got from a while back, there's definitely The Darkness.
Touching me, touching you, 'cause you're touching me. I believe in a thing called love, just a little rhythm in my heart. With a chance we can make it now, when we look until the sun goes down. I believe in a thing called love.
They've definitely grabbed that torch and run with it. There's Steel Panther. They're kind of tongue-in-cheek. But there's also other bands. There's a band called South of Eden. They are total hair metal sound. It's the singer could have put out an album in 1988 and it would have been huge. Would you like to see a resurgence of hair metal? Jason's got his hand up.
Okay, so the 48-year-old guy says it's not going to work because there's missing teeth. Now, I preface that by saying I know fucking nothing and I'm 48 years old, but it's not going to work. And here's why I think that. Because everything we talked about with these bands, it's always about a certain era and where we were and a demographic of people that listen to music that don't listen to music the same way we do now. Like, we would have listened to stuff, like you're talking about songs like song 6 on a record that, like, you know, not a ton of people have like listened to.
Yeah.
But we all did because we listened to that shit back then. So for a hair metal thing to work, you're going to have to get over the fact that it has to have any sort of substance, right? And like you're going to lose people there. No one's going to really push it from like, you know, algorithm perspectives. Like there's not going to be any push behind it. And it's just not going to, it's when things have like a resurgence or when they have like this whole breeding familiarity and warmth, like makes you want to go back to it. Like, you know, how records came back. They didn't really ever go away. They just kind of were under the belly, but you know, vinyl came back up. It's our age groups that dragged it back up for the most part, to be honest. Like, we're like, ah, fuck it, I'm going to buy a turntable. But I don't think that, like, if we wanted to bring it up, we're just going to bring the bands up we've thought of. We're not going to go look for new ones because there's no history there. There's no longing pull.
So you don't think a good hair metal sounding single would get any traction with listeners today?
No, because I think kids are idiots now, right?
Well,
so, and again, 48.
Dude.
Like,
You're 48 and you already think that you're idiots? Come on.
prove me wrong. Let's have a podcast about that.
The other thing is you can't write hair metal lyrics anymore because you get canceled.
Well,
You would.
You will get canceled. You'll get
You're
canceled.
totally right. You would.
you brought up Steel Panther. You can in the context of comedy.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Parody, unfortunately.
Yes.
We loved it back then because they were just so damn serious, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Tracy.
Maybe they weren't serious, but they definitely meant it, you know? And the only way you could get away with those lyrics now is really if it was a comedy.
Yeah, there has to be an irony attached to it all. Like
16-year-old me
right.
thought it was serious.
Yeah, exactly. You know?
But we were idiot kids back then.
Oh, that's a good point.
To bring up a newer band, I don't know if you guys have called Dirty Honey. And
No, good name. I like that.
Yes.
bit of a hair metal swing to them. They're more, I don't know, they sound a little more organic.
Take another toss of the dice. I'm rolling 7
you know, if you listen to their EP, which is out, it's really good. But they do have more of like not so much hair metal, more like a Faces kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to talk about a band that was probably thrown in mistakenly with all that. It's like, to me, Tesla didn't even belong the hair metal genre, because if you went to see Tesla live, they were just like a straight ahead, you know, blues rock band.
Yeah, they were like this close to being the Black Crowes in a lot of ways.
Exactly. You know, and Dirty the same way, but they have a little bit of that glam to it. You
That's
know,
cool.
if you're looking for something new that has a little bit of that quality, that's a band to look for.
All right, that's cool.
All right, so we got Dirty Honey, South of Eden, Steel Panther, going back 10, 15 years now at this point. The Darkness. I mean, Justin Hawkins is just, his voice is insane.
I gotta add one here.
Yeah.
So this is back to my, just because it's bothering me and I want to get it out there because I don't want to
Go ahead.
live with it. I can't live with it anymore. Band that I don't get that was super popular, and it's ironic that it's just, like, you would even say, why would you get it kind of thing, like, because it's ridiculous. I didn't get Europe. I don't understand why they were so fucking big. Like, I have not met a Europe fan. And I know they're out there. I know there's probably a ton of them out there. Is it a European thing, literally, or is there are there North American Europe fans?
I had that one
It wasn't
album.
metal, but it was metal, and it was god awful metal.
Well,
Like, it had all the bad aspects and the tropes. Makes me mad talking about it right now.
see, I had that album. I guess it was called The Final Countdown.
Were you the Europe fan?
No, but I like
You were
the
the
song.
Europe fan and the Shark Island fan.
I was the European Sharks. Anything aquatic and
Why couldn't you bring that band down?
oh God. Well, okay, so I was not a Europe fan because I got that album and I listened to it and I said there is one good song on this album.
There's not.
No, I like Final Countdown. I still like the Final
No,
Countdown.
it's not. It's not a good no. There's way too much. I'm gonna hit the horn preset on my fucking Roland here and just bang that. That's our there's our hook. Horn,
Yeah, but I love
brass,
that-
It says it right there.
I still love that stupid ass guitar solo.
Oh, I don't even remember it.
I'll pull it up right now.
I bet you will. Please don't.
I Europe, you know, there's a lot of bands, like metal bands now, that have that. They call it, like, what do they call it? Power metal.
Oh yeah.
There's that whole like big chorus symphonic thing going for it. And Europe was kind of like the I guess the smoothed out version of that.
They're kind of being like Bon Jovi kind of thing. Like, they're going for like epic chorus kind of thing, but it had that, you know, we're from Sweden, so there's this weird tweak in their chord selection. It's like, what? It's like how people listen to Canada rock and go, you sound Canadian. It's like, yeah, well, I can't help it.
But you gotta realize they were beautiful men. Beautiful men.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, it was just cheekbones and just gorgeous men. And I think
True.
the Final Countdown really propelled them, because you play that in a gym and people just go fucking sick.
It's true.
They're just like, you know, they're like benching, you know, and it's so that's like, you know, maybe that's it. Maybe it's like the workout culture in North America propelled them.
So
That
steroids,
makes sense. All right.
steroids
Yeah.
accounts for their popularity.
That's right. Just steroids and bench pressing and Final Countdown.
Yeah.
Right.
Steroids, Schwarzenegger, and Europe.
Cheekbones. Yes.
All right, so you can't figure out why people like Europe, Mike. All right, what's your band that you cannot figure out why people like?
I never got why Enough's Enough
Oh,
got as popular as they did. And again, it wasn't for a long time, but no,
why they got or why they didn't get as popular? Sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
they hit for that one. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't get that at all. And it's like that's the kind of music that they would like play at Guantanamo, to get people to talk.
Here's the thing, because I totally agreed with you up until about a week ago. For some reason, I don't know why, I was reading something like, because I often get like in my feeds like, hey, you like reading metal stuff every once in a while, check out this guy that's now 65 and trying to fucking tour still. So it's like, all right, I'll read that story. And it's always like guys like Enough's Enough or Rat, whatever incarnation's going on there. And I was just like, I remember having that record and thinking the exact same thing, going, man, he's so nasally when he sings. Like, it's just so much through here.
It's great.
It's graining. And then I listened to it. I listened to the second record. And there's a funny part is, of course, the person who's the biggest proponent behind it is the next nasal singer, Billy Corgan. So he's a huge Enough's Enough fan, apparently. Shocked. But I listened to it. It's like, oh, I can see why it almost should have been like appreciated. Like, I'm still with you on it, because it's like, it's kind of grating, but it's like, it's kind of clever writing. It's Beatles-ish. They're trying to be like, hey, we're hard rock Beatles kind of thing.
Well, they're like hard rock hippies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hippies. So maybe that's why, I don't know. It was just like, now I just remember when that's really popular. I'm like, I don't understand why people are loving this, Tim.
I get it.
Weren't the Electric Boys also hard rock hippies?
Yeah. Hard rock hippies doesn't work for me.
No.
Seems non-committal. It's like, really?
All right, so we got Europe, we got Enough's Enough. Ryan, who's your I don't know.
Band I don't get. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of them. I mean,
that's why this question's so weird.
There's a lot I don't get. I actually don't. I'm going to say that I mostly don't get hair metal, but I do actually like. I had a similar experience with Enough's Enough, where I thought they sucked. I didn't like them. And then I more recently listened to them, and I think it's because of the Chicago connection. I think they're a Chicago band, or there's something going on there, and those guys are still involved in that, or at least one of them is involved in that scene there. And I checked them, I was like, oh, I like this better now than I did when I heard it the first time. And I was like, so I can appreciate them, but so if I got to pick a band that I just don't get that was huge, that I guess I have a love-hate relationship with this band. I'm going to say that. Motley Crue, because they had some amazing songs, and then they have a bunch of just so bad songs that how did that even make it out there? Like, that's so but I also love the band. I love the band. Dr. Feelgood is an amazing album. And then there's a bunch of albums that have like two good songs, or like there's a good song here and there. So
this is a great point, because I would even back up further on that. I would say each album only has two good songs. Dr. Feelgood, you go back and listen to it, it's like,
well, four. That's like four. That's like four good songs.
Yeah, does it have four though? Like Feelgood and Kickstart My Heart are the only ones.
Kickstart
really.
My Heart, Dr. Feelgood. I like Don't Go Away, Mad, Just Go Away.
Go back and listen to it. After we talk, go back and
the four. And then maybe Rattlesnake Shake. Okay, possibly. Maybe what's that same old situation? That could be an arguably fifth and a half or something. Like,
to your point, then that means, like, if you take their entire collection, because the last good song they wrote was Primal Scream, I think. That song was pretty
That's a good song.
They have about 9 songs.
Yeah.
Really. It's like, they're kind of like U2 after Joshua Tree.
So they could put out a greatest hits EP, you know what I mean? And you'd be happy.
It's like, yeah. Like, but they're probably going to go into the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, if, like, they're probably going to end up there. And it's like, so I think Ryan's got it spot on here. It's like, I don't get it either, because I would say Rat had better songs and more better. I would put their catalog up against it. But Crew was huge.
Motley Crue way more fun than Rat.
They were.
Just personality-wise and the attitude, and only 9 good songs. What about that first album? To me, that's album.
Too Fast for Love is a good album. That's a really good album.
You're right. Okay, yeah.
Right. That's a good album.
Off of Shout at the Devil, there's I
like Shout at the Devil.
There's 3.
Yeah, they have like so much good, they just, maybe it's just like,
they hit a cliff.
They're guilty of making a lot of output.
Which is
off. Good, and so I
don't even like the Dr. Feelgood album.
Their aim is like,
I don't even like Dr. Feelgood. That entire album, I can't stand.
You don't like it?
No, I hated it when it came out.
I could rank that album.
The production on that album makes that album awesome.
That's
Like,
the
even if
production is
songs
fine.
suck,
I just hate the songs on it. I just thought it was trash when it came out. I hated it when it was new.
I kind of hate Vince Neil because I never really got Vince Neil. It's like
Two first names.
You kind of don't sing well.
Dickhead.
I don't get it.
Yeah, he sings flat a lot, but it's like
Yeah,
it's like,
it's like you're just kind of bumping into key every once in a while. Yeah,
Accidentally hitting key.
yeah. Hey, Vince hitting key right on. Good take, Vince. We'll get that one down.
Let's stop recording. We're done.
Yeah.
All right. My band that I don't understand why anybody likes, and anybody who likes hair metal is going to hate me when I say this, is Poison. I hate every single fucking song that they've recorded. They have not hit one good note ever. They suck, and I hate them.
Do you know what the best thing about Poison is?
One of them's dead. No, that's Warrant.
No, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so CC DeVille's like the original fucking crack whore. Like CC DeVille was just all over the place. Like you see footage of him at like Much Music.
Oh, yeah.
Video
He's
awards
like
parties,
a
and it's
crackheaded
my
Joe
God.
Walsh.
Then they have the best internal bands fight story ever. So then they fired CC DeVille and they got Richie Kotzen,
Yes.
who's like one of those guitar shredders. And I don't know if you saw Richie Kotzen back there. If you're going to talk about a beautiful man, he came on and they kind of tried to write like songs. They said, hey, Richie's going to write a bunch of songs. Richie proceeded to write a bunch of songs, looked completely disinterested, and then fucked Ricky Rocket's wife or fiance and stole her away. And then they had to fire him. And it's like, I love that about Poison. That's my favorite aspect of Poison. It's like, oh man, that's so terrible. Like, they cuckolded the drummer.
That makes me like Richie Kotzen a lot better than Poison.
Oh yeah, Richie Kotz is cool. You can see the photos. Like, get rid of the other three guys. This guy, his own band. He's cool looking.
Which I think he did, and it didn't do so well.
No, because he's a dick apparently.
A side note about Richie Kotzen, he's in a really good band with Billy Sheehan called
Winery Dogs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're pretty awesome. And Mike Portnoy plays drums and them too. And I thought they were really good. But yeah, that's an awesome story though.
That
You
is
know
Yeah.
There's not one Poison song you like?
no, not a single one.
I like one of their singles. It's like, okay, I'm on board with this. It's like just dumb fun, but I kind of got on board with it.
Which one?
Unskinny Bob. I'm totally, because it's just do. Like it's just.
I don't know if I can have you on this
Terrible
podcast
fun.
anymore.
Hey, listen, I bring a lot to people's lives here.
You do. That is true. That's your redeeming quality.
No, I think it's fair that I get shit on because of that. Although I'm stunned. I've listened to it recently and I'm like, how many takes did it take Ricky Rocket to get to do that opening fill? Because it's like off the three. Like it's like this weird like halftime cut into the drum. It's like you can't play for shit, dude. Like how many times did like Wagner run you through that?
That's I don't understand how anybody likes any of that. I mean, yeah, it's dumb party music, but to me, it just to me it's like I don't know. It's like movies that are just stupid humor. So let's take
it's Bruce Willis and Armageddon. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, it's like naked. You do too many Naked Guns, and it just dumb after like that whole. What is that? What is that TV show that's got Rashida Jones in it now? And it's like a ripoff of Naked Gun. It's all the same type of humor. What the hell is that called? Shit, I'm gonna look it up. No, you know what? No, never mind.
It's
I'm not
the
even
poison of TV.
It's
Whatever it is. It's the poison of TV.
It is. It's the poison of TV, and that's why I can't stand it because it's too dumb. I love songs about. I like Rat, great party songs. Just I don't know. There's just so much.
It's a bridge too far. I totally respect that.
It gives me a visceral.
Right. I
get a visceral reaction. Like I want to punch the phone right now.
Yeah, it's your Europe. It's like I get it. Yeah.
Right.
I want to make them less pretty. Just smash their faces in.
All right, so moving on beyond my despisal of Poison, you guys have a song that is like a go-to hair metal song and like hits all the tropes that you're just like, oh, this is if I want to embody hair metal. This is the song. And I'll give you mine first so you guys can have a second to think about it because I kind of threw this one on you. If I want to hear hair metal, it's none of the bands that I actually listed because I think they write better music. But Wait by White Lion is just pure hair metal awesomeness.
I know that I will follow, 'cause there's a place inside my heart that tells me hold up, oh baby, wait, I never had a chance to lie, wait, if only all I could tell you, wait, I never wanna
I remember liking that song. I can't even think of how it goes right now.
Oh, well, here, I will pull
Wait,
it up.
wait.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
And then wait. Yeah.
So that-
Mike Tramp, a beautiful man.
Mike Tramp. This is a funny thing I've learned doing research for this stupid podcast. Mike Tramp had nothing to do with that song. Vito Bratta
Vito Bratta.
wrote all the music. He wrote the lyrics, the music. He wrote everything. Mike Tramp, a few years ago, decided to try to go out as Mike Tramp's White Lion, and Vito just sued his ass off and said, no. You had nothing to do with this. Mike Tramp was apparently like a Danish pop star who came over to the U.S. They won Eurovision. That's what it was. Whatever band he was in won Eurovision, which I found out is a real thing and not just a Will Ferrell movie.
Oh yeah.
No, it's a thing, dude.
I had no idea. So they won it and they came over to the U.S. The band did nothing. Everybody in the band went back except for Mike Tramp, and then he ended up singing on White Lion stuff.
Yeah.
Which I had no idea about. That's my history lesson. So that's if I have got to have hair metal, if I need it like right now, I'm going to Wait by White Lion. Who do you guys have? So let's Jason, this is your wheelhouse, man. What are you going to for a quick 4-minute hair metal fix?
You're going to the guy that has like hair metal Spotify list, right? So right off the hot, there's it's this long.
Well, that's why I'm trying to buy a little time for Mike and Ryan because I threw this to everybody.
I would like to have something clever. Like there are two. I would say right off the hop, Lay It Down. Just because it's just a visceral, they have better hits, arguably Round and Round stuff. Lay It Down just has all the things I want. It has a certain edge that Round and Round didn't have, kind of thing. So that song does it for me. And some of the sweeps, those things that Beau Hill did, the transition, it's what the fuck's he doing? That's a band where every record I've ever gone in to make, I've said to each producer, whether it be Alan Epley or Jordan, saying, I want you to steal that thing from Rat where the backwards symbol thing happens in Round and Round, or I want that Round and Round effect on the backwards. I go, do that. And they look at me like, why? And I'm like, just do it. If no one's done it. So it drives me nuts.
So you get a lot of, and that's one of the reasons why I picked Wait, because it hits a lot of those tropes. Like you're saying, it's got the acoustic intro, the big chorus, and the insane guitar riffs throughout the entire thing where nothing's ever the same twice.
Yes, I agree.
All right, so
another one would be Blackout in the Red Room by a band called Love Hate.
Love Hate, yes.
That fucking song was thick, dude. And it doesn't really, it's one of those things I'm just happy to revisit. Like the rest of the record's but
I never heard the rest of the record.
Drums. No one has.
You make an excellent point, my friend.
Drums ever. Yes. I'm going to get a bunch of terrible phone calls one day in my life. I heard you on this podcast slamming my band.
Yeah.
Girl. You know Mark? This is great.
You know what? Jizzy Pearl ended up doing a ton of those, those weird tribute albums where it would be Bruce Kulick and a bunch of other people playing all the music, and it would have a bunch of different lead singers. It was like some record label, like Egyptian Records or something, would do these tributes. Like they did like an industrial tribute to Guns N' Roses, and it would have like 10 different songs. It would pretty much be a similar. The actual band would be like the same 3 or 4 guys, and would have like Jizzy Pearl, and it would have Corey Clark, and the dude from Great White, and a bunch of other people just singing. Jizzy Pearl is all over those things.
I think your next podcast, you should get a guy from Poison and say, we're going to have a Poison podcast. And then we can proceed to have the same collection of us saying, we don't get you.
If I could have a podcast where I get Bret Michaels and I can shit all over him, that would be the greatest day of my life.
Some of these guys are dying for this sort of thing.
Ricky Rocket.
Some of the guys you've been getting on lately.
I could get
you. You can get Ricky Rocket. Ricky Rocket's like got like a vet clinic or something going on.
He put out an album.
System.
Wait, his wife is the one that got.
You can get on Bobby Blotzer. That guy's like dying for something to do because he's been sued at a rat.
Yeah, but doesn't he look like doesn't he look like one of those wrestlers that just used to slice their face open just for effect?
He looks just like a douche, is what he looks like. Like he emanates douche. I watched actually a podcast and everybody was like, I can't. You just sound like a fucking idiot.
All right, I think we've stalled enough. Right. Mike, what's your go-to 3-minute hair metal fix?
It's a toss-up between Bad Medicine by Bon Jovi or Night Train.
Nice.
What was the second one?
Night Train by Guns N' Roses. Because that's the sleazy, edgy part of it that just embodies hair metal to me.
Okay.
About it. The look, the attitude, the lyrics, the big drum sound, all that stuff is in there. And so it was, I go with Bad Medicine, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the best of the Bon Jovi songs in my mind because it's got all like the right amount of everything.
That's another band I can't stand.
Yeah, but it's got like, if you're going to do a whoa, whoa, whoa as your chorus, like they did it well.
Yeah. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't sure as hell don't want to hear Poison doing whoa, whoa, whoa.
They're a band that they shed the whole hair metal thing and they're trying to be like kind of lighter Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know. Those first couple of Bon Jovi albums are fun, but after that,
yeah, I get that completely. All right, Ryan, you've had a few minutes.
I have, and I have 100% certainty that my go-to song is "It's So Easy" by Guns N' Roses.
There you go.
It's so easy when everybody's trying to please me, baby. Yeah, it's so easy when everybody's trying to please me. So easy, nothing seems to please me. It all feels so right when I fade into the night. See me, it's you.
Well, I would say Guns N' Roses wasn't hair metal.
Yeah, well, see, actually, I thought about that too, and ironically, I thought Guns N' Roses was on my short list, and I actually thought King's X fit in more than Guns N' Roses. But
I would agree with you, actually.
But Guns N' Roses is like, I mean, they definitely, what you could argue that they were, and I mean, they were kind of in a way the epitome of it, but they had so much other things going on. They had so much Aerosmith and punk and other things.
They helped crush it, which was the irony of it all, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to be clean.
I'm just gonna stand by my "It's So Easy" because that you can't beat cranking that up. Like,
actually, if we're all throwing a Guns N' Roses tune in there, then I want to throw in My Michelle because
that's another one.
I fucking love that song.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going Guns N' Roses and we're doing the whole how acoustic screwed up metal, I still love Patience.
I can't stand that tune.
Really?
But and then because
I'm fucking hanging up.
I hate that tune, and then I had to hear it every day at work.
Oh,
So, compounded that fork against a chalkboard kind of thing every time I heard it. But I have to say this though. Last time I saw them on that last tour, they did the thing where my whole rule with Guns N' Roses is like they kind of put it in context live. They played November Rain, and then they went into that second half of Layla, and I was like, oh, okay, I understand what they're trying to do, but I understand it. And then they started playing Angie by the Stones, and then they went into Patience, and I was like, oh. Okay, well, that's what they're saying. They're trying to write a song like Angie. But I get where it's coming from, but it's still going to make me want to punch myself in the face when it comes on the radio.
That's amazing. So they literally had to dumb it down for people going, this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
I never understood November Rain. I hate that song.
me too.
Pile of turd, but hearing them mix it with Layla, I'm like, okay, well, they're trying to do a Layla thing here. Okay.
See, I always figured they were trying to do a Paul McCartney and Wings thing with that, because it's like, okay, so this could be a whole nother episode. Paul McCartney wrote amazing music, but the problem for me with him and Wings is that some of his songs, there's like 3 songs within one song. And if he had just spent a little more time working out one of those ideas, he could have written 3 incredible songs instead of just smashing them into one, like Band on the Run. And that's the thing I got from like November Rain and all that. It's just, if he's just spent a little more time on one of these weird sections, the whole thing could have been a lot better.
If Use Your Illusion was just one album, it would have been a great album.
Yeah. That's first appearance of Shannon Hoon from Blind Melon. Silence. That's a good way to end.
Silence. Shannon.
That's how most of my podcast ends. I just edit it out. I just edit that part out. Oh, man. All right, guys. Look, unless you guys have another topic you want to throw out there regarding heavy metal or hair metal,
Good.
I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
I think we've done heavy metal a favor today.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more hair metal revival bands coming up.
I think we should start a hair metal band. I
Right.
think that's what should happen. That's the next logical step.
I just wish I had hair.
Well, Mike has no hair and his voice is too deep.
We just call the band hair metal.
So, all right, Mike, tell me a little bit about what you're up to, the podcast and all that you're doing. Let's promote a little bit of get a little network love going here with Pantheon.
Yeah, do a Neil Young podcast called Long May You Young. And right now we're taking a break for Thanksgiving, but our next album is This Note's for You, which we think, I don't know if it's like we're all relieved to get the last 3 albums, which were like Standing on Water and Everybody's Rocking. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We do interviews. We also talk about Neil's movies, and I also do another podcast called the Breaking the Ice podcast. We mainly interview local people, what they're doing. There's like a guy that was in Massachusetts, and they weren't fixing the potholes, so he was planting small Christmas trees in the potholes.
That's amazing.
Weird local weirdos and stuff like that. So podcast I'm doing it also on 100 FM The Pike here in Worcester.
Awesome. Well, Jason, what do you guys in Vast Robot Armies have going on? Anything new?
I'm trying not to write the COVID record, but I find myself writing the COVID record. So yeah, about halfway through, like what would be another record, kind of looking for a window when I could get into the studio, and then wondering what that looks like, because I know that Joe and John will not be allowed in the country. So it's like, do I do it like we did it remote with Kelly in LA last time?
Yeah.
Which is one way, but it's one thing to have Kelly do the drum in LA and then have Joe and John do guitars and bass, depending on what we decide on in Kansas City. So,
because you're based in Canada, and then the other 2 band members are in Kansas City, and then on the last album you had Kelly Scott from Failure on the drums.
Yeah, and then Kelly's down with doing the drums again. He enjoyed the last one, so he's in. And Jordan Zarosny's down to produce it again, and he's just 3 hours away, so that's not the problem. It's more like John and Joe. And I actually nagged fucking Jordan this week about getting Jason Faulkner to play guitar on a song, so we're going to try to reach out to him. I doubt anything comes of that, but I would love that. So I'm just kind of like slowly writing stuff because I'm thinking, you know, maybe in the spring I'll be able to go out. Like everything's locking down in Ontario right now as we speak, and I don't really feel like driving to Pembroke in the winter anyways. And then, you know, part of the whole process is because we don't tour, it's like, it's about having all of us get together in a room and like cutting out that 2 weeks and just making something kind of thing. So you do that too remotely. It's like, well, what is this kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm in the midst of like writing the COVID record that I don't want to be the COVID record.
All right, Ryan, you and Pony have just released your album, Ryan and Pony, and I love it. What are you guys up to since you can't tour to support it?
Well, we are releasing videos and lyric videos, every kind of video that you can make, because that's all you can do.
Showing up on stupid podcasts about hair metal.
And we have an extensive merchandise line. Somebody the other day called us the kiss of indie rock because we have like mouse pads and
action figures,
action figures. We got all anything you can imagine.
Liquid paper.
So yeah, Moshi Moshi, that album's out. You can get it anywhere, and you can get on vinyl from Pravda Records, pravdamusic.com. And then Soul Asylum had two records come out this year, Hurry Up and Wait, and then an EP called Born Free.
Hurry Up and Wait,
we're
that is
doing
so
some
apropos.
online shows and keeping busy rehearsing and making sure we remember how to play music and you know, and writing a bunch of songs too. So also trying not to make a COVID record, you know, but
well, once I get my folk parody band in high gear, I will write the COVID record. Yeah, I'm all in.
You're going to call your band COVID.
It is. It's going to be American Horse Pirates, COVID-19. Actually, I'm going to do COVID 1 through 19. That's what we're going to do. It's going to be a 19 album set. But you have to buy it all at once. So, and no discounts. So guys, this has been awesome. I loved talking with this stuff. We got to have you guys on again. I really do want everybody to check out the albums, check out Mike's stuff, check out Long May You Young podcast, and Breaking the Ice. It's awesome stuff, guys.